Ever since a baby, I've been trying to get away, trying to lock in the guap, trying to block with the pain. I'm a blonde little boss, I'm on top of the game. I've been plotting a lot, now I'm tossing your bait. Yeah, my pops got caught, didn't lock them away. My mom fought hard, 5 jobs in a day. I'll be dropping the vibes, but I'm copping the pain. We out for the stars, we're a tropical place. Ooh, yeah, I'm spitting it heavy, the mission is steady. Your bitch is a jelly, I'm ditching the petty. You're digging for pennies, I'm itching and ready. I open my heart when I listen to Shetty. I'm bold like a boss, but I'm little like Debbie. I know what the bros, I got richer than Getty. I'm holding the guap and I'm whipping the Yeti, yeah, Kari can play with advanced moves. I'm fucking my girl and her man too. I'm taking the ball like the Rand do. My soul is the one that I can't lose. I soak up the sun like a sand dune. I'm holding up love with the bamboo. I'm rolling the blunt by the candle. Taking the game, running it back without taking a drink. Yeah, I'm the one and I'm making a wave. Rolling the blunt and I'm blazing a J. I'm escaping the brain, go straight for the cake. I'ma take to the bank, now taking a break. I'm made for the race, I pray for the day. I wake with a bake in a great estate.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jay, he's Maddie, and we are here for some Thursday post-game, Saturday, Sunday pre-game NFL talk.
Yeah, this week 17 pre-game, pre-week show, but we've already had some of week 17 so far. Anyway, doesn't matter. Christmas reaction, and what we'll start with, Jay, is an instant reaction right now. So the Seahawks-Bears game just finished about 20, 30 minutes ago. Thank God it finished. That was a terrible game of football. And, Jay, people will say, like, oh, yeah, like, it was low scoring, but that's great defense and stuff like that. And do you know what? No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. There was just no excitement on offense and just nothing there for that. Jay, what's your kind of instant reactions and take on that game?
I want to know why Roger Goodell hates Jeff Bezos. That's what I want to know. Why does Roger Goodell hate Jeff Bezos? Why would you like this? When you're making the schedule, nobody, even before we played one game, nobody's excited about Bears Seahawks. Nobody.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were thinking, oh, this is the Bears' opportunity to get to the playoffs, right? Like,
even if they're good, nobody's really excited about that game.
Yeah, on a week that includes the Packers, Vikings, and like you could at least make it a divisional game, right? So on a week that includes the Packers, Vikings, the Rams, Cardinals,
I'd rather watch the fucking Cowboys, Eagles.
The Cowboys, Eagles, exactly. That's up as well. Or there's like the Bengals and the Broncos, like always had the opportunity. The Bills and the Jets, Josh Allen versus Aaron Rodgers, in a divisional game, as well. There was plenty of options out there to give some guaranteed interest and guaranteed excitement, there, just because of the two teams that were going to play each other. But no one could tell that the Bears were going to. Well, you could tell that the Bears were going to be this bad this year if you just thought, oh, rookie quarterback, dysfunctional organization. It's not going to be playoffs this year.
Not if you listen to all the idiots on TV who were like, best quarterback situation out there. Never been a better rookie quarterback situation out there. I think there's a team in their division that had a better rookie quarterback situation, even though they're not playing a rookie quarterback.
Yeah, there's definitely that. And then there's, I think, like, if we just looked at the Commanders, I know at the start of the season, we both went, oh, this Commanders team are going to be, like, much better than people realize. Worst to first candidate. I put them above the Eagles. You put them above the Cowboys. We both put them as second in the division. There, you were obviously right because you went Eagles, Commanders. I went Cowboys, Commanders in our division predictions. And we both went, oh, yeah, offensive coordinator who's done it before, really exciting offensive coordinator coming in. I do think the Bears have weapons, and I think they need to look at the offensive coordinator position as well going forward. And for their head coach, it has to, for me, looking at that game just told me it has to be an offensive coordinator as a coach. And I've seen now Pete Carroll's out there coming out.
That's what I was going to say. During the game, they were talking big interest in Pete Carroll.
Yeah, Pete Carroll putting his name in the ring, Mike Vrabel coming and putting his name in the ring, and it's like, okay, like big culture setters, for the Chicago Bears, like set the culture. Okay, well, what about a guy who's done it before with a rookie quarterback? Like, go fucking get Cliff Kingsbury if you're the Chicago Bears. Go back up whatever it takes to get Cliff Kingsbury, a guy who's worked with Caleb before and has
turned
worked as
him
a head
down.
coach in the NFL before.
He turned him down for the OC position.
Yeah, maybe he just wants to be an OC
Maybe
for
he
the rest
doesn't
of
want to
his
work with Caleb.
career. Yeah. Yeah,
Maybe
actually,
he doesn't want to work with Caleb again.
Yeah, I've never thought of it that way. Jay, after watching that game, are Caleb Williams' wow plays enough to say that there's something in Caleb going into next season? Because we're starting to look at it now. Like in that final drive, he made 2 good breakouts and against the blitz and some big throws down the sideline to get them into a position, and then he throws an interception. Like, is this enough from Caleb Williams to suggest that he's going to be any good next year?
I was saying this a week ago, and I'm saying it again. If you really watch it, he is so inaccurate, it is scary. And I don't know if that's a mechanics thing. If it's mechanics, you can fix that. I don't know. Like, and we were saying this before. He was inaccurate his last year at USC too. Running around, playing hero ball, just launching the ball down the field. I don't know. I'm starting to wonder, and they really need to nail the coach. Right, they need to nail this coaching search, because if you don't, you pretty much just wasted the first overall draft pick.
Yeah. After, by the way, like Ryan Poles made great moves throughout the whole draft process. He just might have taken the wrong quarterback. However, it was the quarterback that everybody would have taken if it was a 1.
No, I told him if he'd have watched the show to take Jaden Daniels. If he'd have just watched the show, he would have picked the right quarterback.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's I think that's so tough. I think that's so tough on a GM as well, where you just make every right decision at every turn. Like, if you look at the roster, this roster is much better than what it should be, and it was much better than it was 2 years ago. Like, Ryan Poles has actually done a great job, and his next job now is to get the coach to fix his quarterback.
When I was arguing with the Canadian about and that's a wild statement. It's in itself, because that's just futile. Like, the whole argument with the Canadian. But about the Bears, I was like, Brian Poles did everything right except his coaching hire. Like, since he's been there, everything except the coaching hire. Yeah,
and they did the same. Look, Caleb Williams, I think, is a much better prospect than Justin Fields, but they never put Justin Fields in a position to win. Like, Justin Fields was never given the position to win. Like, he also isn't a good enough passer from the pocket and all of that kind of stuff, the stuff you have to do from the NFL to win himself. But he was never given that opportunity. They've now put Caleb Williams in a position, and it's just the coach that they need. And I think if they take a Pete Carroll, I think Mike Vrabel, that will just be a step in the wrong direction. They are the team that need a good OC. I wouldn't be upset if they gave Arthur Smith another crack, if they went to Pittsburgh and they said, Arthur Smith, have another try. But I'm going to get on to Arthur Smith in a second.
Wait. I'm going to take a British term and use it for you. You've slagged him off for the last year and a half, and now that's your guy.
No. Yeah, to be fair, I am going to slag him off in the next segment as well. But I wouldn't be upset. I think that would show a step in the right direction for the Chicago Bears, like an offensive coordinator who's actually done it in the NFL before. Like, I don't think Ben Johnson, I've thought that Ben Johnson would be the guy for them for the whole season. But now I don't think that. There's so much wrong in that organization that do you want it to be a new head coach, their first job,
After the game, when when Sherm and Fitzpatrick and all them are doing the post game, the fans were chanting, "Sell the team, sell the team." So,
yeah, it's a whole culture, it's a whole cultural problem there as well. And Caleb Williams can't just live off his wow moments anymore. Like he has to actually, like it's not good enough. Like when you were watching it, a team that also weren't good enough, Jay, is the Seattle Seahawks. I have no idea whether they're going to make the playoffs, but I know if they do make the playoffs, they're going to get hosed by whoever they play. They're going to get torn up.
They played Minnesota so much tougher a week ago.
They played Minnesota really well on the offensive side of the ball. They've had a few games where they just shine and just look brilliant, but then in other games they don't. Jay, what do the Seattle Seahawks do going into next season to really kickstart this team?
They give Minnesota a bunch of draft picks for Sam Darnold.
Yeah, exactly. It's the quarterback position that comes to mind, right? They've got everything there. And
for everybody who's like
Gino.
They can't, he's on a 1-year deal. If you don't watch the show, I've already said, you franchise him and you trade him.
Yeah, franchise and trade. Or franchise and keep, and JJ can sit for one more year.
I think that's franchise and trade. But that's not what I want them to do.
Yeah, or franchise and trade gives you the max. Gives you the max in the trade guaranteed because of what Sam Darnold's done this season. So do you trust Sam Darnold to go out and do it again? Or maybe they think that Brock Purdy's the guy, and if the 49ers don't sign Brock Purdy, which I think they probably will, but if they don't, then you go get Brock Purdy. But I think for me, Jay, I agree with you. It starts at the quarterback position. And I just don't get Geno Smith as a quarterback. I just don't understand him. I don't understand how he can be leading the NFL in passing yards one week throughout like a lot of this season, and then come out and still look terrible while he's doing it. I don't understand Geno Smith at all.
Because he's not good. I've been saying like he's barely average for 2 years or however long he's been starting now. But they didn't do anything to fix that position moving forward. So again, you're stuck with Geno again next year, aren't you? Like what else do you do?
Yeah, unless you I don't know what Geno Smith's contract looks like, guys. I'm not gonna lie to you. So I think he's got
another year where they could keep him or like get out of it. But even if you can get out of it, I still think it's under $40 million. So where are you going to turn?
Yeah, exactly. And those guys that we spoke about, Sam Darnold and Brock Purdy, they're going to need paying.
I read an article this week that it was from a writer in Dallas, I forget his name, said that the Vikings will move on from Sam Darnold and they will sign Cooper Rush as their backup quarterback.
Okay.
Cooper's a free agent.
Cooper Rush is a very good backup. Yeah. Cooper Rush is a very good backup. So
then sure. JJ doesn't have to worry about somebody breathing down his neck who's going to take his job.
Yeah. It doesn't feel like a great fit for JJ, but it does feel like a good fit for the Vikings, if you know what I mean. Like Cooper Rush, if there's one thing Cooper Rush can do, it's if there's a decent offensive line and there's plenty of weapons, like he can just unload and that's fine. Tends to make good decisions a lot of the time. But yeah, with the Seahawks, I have no idea what they're going to do next season. If I'm them, I'm definitely drafting a quarterback just to take a punt on a quarterback in the first or second round and see.
Derek Carr might be available, but I don't know if that's an upgrade.
Yeah, I don't think that's an upgrade over Geno. I think maybe you play Geno next year, or you get a rookie quarterback, see if they have anything, and then if they don't, then when Geno's contract is over, you then take whichever free agent quarterback is on the market. Because the other thing with the Seahawks is they're really good. They are actually a decent football team, so I don't think they're going to be in a position to take like the highest quarterback in any draft, because they have the qualities of a good football team. Their defense is good. Will McDonald, whether you think it was a weird or not hire as a head coach, he has been a great defensive coordinator for them. Their defense is playing really well. and it's a young defense as well. They have Jackson Smith and Jigba, who didn't play great in this game, but is one of the most consistent wide receivers in the league this season. DK Metcalf, he's probably coming to the end of his time in Seattle. In my opinion, he was very heated going off the field there today. And then they have Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet as well. So, and two really fantastic young tackles on the offensive line. So I think the Seattle team is a great team to have and be able to do something and build with. But they just need to get these next steps right. And we've spoken 15 minutes on the game. That was terrible because we just didn't mention the game at all. We just mentioned the two organizations that were in there, but terrible game. Also, do you know what was the worst about that game, Jay?
What?
That we were half a point out on the spread. So we've missed the spread by half a point. So the Seahawks were 3.5, not 3. And that's upsetting.
Of course.
Yeah, so terrible game, half a point out. But a lot of the money, Jay, was going towards the Seahawks. So they were 3.5 when we did our show on Christmas Eve morning for me, on the 23rd night for you. But they were 5-point favorites. So by the kickoff of that game, so the Seahawks have just lost people a lot of money as well. Jay, moving on to those Christmas Day games here as well. Jay, first of all, what did you make of the format? Like, what did you make of Netflix hosting it? How did you find that?
I thought it was fine. I know people were pissed off. I know a lot of crying people. Look, if you ain't got Netflix and you don't want to pay for Netflix, it's about to be 2025, people. Just do a little Googling. You'll figure out how you can watch some football games. I'm not going to, get us, kicked off YouTube for giving you fucking sites, but, do a little research and stop crying about the NFL being behind a paywall. And you know how much people cared, Maddie? At the top viewed NBA game, yes, on Christmas, 5.1 million viewers. The top viewed NFL, both NFL games, over 24 million, by the way. Both NFL games, over 24 million. So, come on. People are going to watch football no matter what.
It's quite funny. So there's a sitcom in the UK called Gavin and Stacey, and it's about this girl from Wales who marries a guy from England, and it's a comedy. It's what made James Corden famous. He wrote it and stars in it and stuff like that. And they did their finale Christmas special. It started in 2008. They did their finale Christmas special on the BBC on Christmas Day. That sitcom in the UK got over double the views of the NBA this year, which is pretty sad for the NBA, I think. And I think the NFL have purposely gone in on Christmas Day to destroy the NBA. I think the NFL's goal might genuinely be to take down the NBA rather than to increase NFL views, which is really interesting to see. I quite enjoyed, and I don't know what other people thought, once they fixed the lagging, because it was lagging to start with, and once they fixed that, I thought that the game on Netflix was fine. But what I thought was really good about it was the little bit with Scott Hansen and Drew Brees, where you go back to the booth in between games where there's usually ad breaks, and you get some breakdown plays from Scott Hansen and Drew Brees. That's how our games are in the UK. When we watch them on Sky, we go back to the studio and it's Jason Bell and Neil Reynolds, and then there's a rotating guest. It's Phoebe Schefter most of the time. And we get that breakdown of analysis, and it actually really helps with the flow of the game and understanding what's been seen in the game and those kind of things, rather than just constant ad breaks all the time. And I actually quite like that from the Netflix coverage, because I hate ads. I just hate ads.
Well, there was quite a few ads on that Netflix fucking.
Oh yeah, there was still plenty.
I don't like Drew Brees on that doing that shit.
Yeah, I don't think Drew Brees was particularly good. I love Scott Hansen. Scott Hansen might be my favorite NFL media person. I think he's brilliant. But
as sad as it is, and this is off topic, but Tom Brady's not very good at calling games either.
It's almost like just because you're a former player doesn't mean you have an instant talent at doing like presenting and stuff like that. It's the same with like soccer players. Like honestly, I was watching Sunderland play, and it was some 1980s player who was commentating on the game, and it was just like he genuinely didn't know the rules anymore. Like it was like one of the rules he just completely gaffed and got wrong. And it's like, what the fuck are we doing here? Why is it when like just because you played the game, you can now talk about it all the time? And I see that with the NFL like so much. Some of these talk show hosts that are there like all the time. We should make a list of them. We'll do like a naughty and nice list for next Christmas for NFL media voices or something like that. All right, Jay, let's talk about the Steelers versus the Chiefs. Jay, I don't know whether you've seen after the game, but Cam Hayward put out a tweet saying it's difficult to play when 10 players are doing one thing and then one player is doing another. There's also a lot of news about them just not being on the same page at all.
Patrick Queen had some of the same type of comments, and somebody else too.
Yeah.
I can't remember. For me, though, I feel like for them guys to be talking, it has to be one of the like bigger names of the team. And so I'm like, is it TJ? Is it Micah Fitzpatrick? Is it like who on the team? Because if you're Joe Nobody, then they're not talking about you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because the player who came off the screen it came off the screen for playing badly on their defense, by the way, was number 42, which I think whoever was on Pat McAfee's show said then Joey Porter Jr. has to come back as 42. Just no, sir, was his quote. Number 42, no, sir. And I was like, oh shit, it's pretty mean. But I can't remember who that guy was, but he just jumped off the screen and was terrible, like number 42. So I doubt it's him though, right? Because like you don't just call out like some fucking nobody. So it has to be TJ. It has to be Micah Fitzpatrick. It has to be that kind of player.
Yeah, and you wonder who it is.
When I read Cam Hayward's tweet before I went and saw the rest of it, and actually thought about the game and how bad the defense was on that game, I thought it was George Pickens. I thought it was George Pickens just because of the body language that Pickens always exhibits. And Russell Wilson's throw might have been, it wasn't Pickens' fault. Like Russell Wilson should be able to not throw that ball. There was plenty of time for him to see that George Pickens didn't run the go route that he was supposed to run. Like George Pickens was clearly meant to run a go route and got press coverage and then didn't fight through the press coverage to actually go and run the go route. So Russell Wilson can pull that ball down there, but he's meant to drag over the safety and stuff like that. And he throws that pick. So I thought it might have been George Pickens, but it's clearly someone on the defense because of what all the defensive players are saying. And just the massive gaps that were on defense, Jay. And is that what went wrong for the Steelers in this game? Their defense just didn't seem to be on the same page with each other at all. The secondary has got smoked for the last 3 games now. And they just can't. They're begging for Joey Porter Jr. to come back. And Jay, why does this kind of stuff always happen in Pittsburgh? And what do you think they should do to fix it before going into the playoffs?
Well, okay, so with their defense, they always have a good defense, but they're never very deep, right? It's top heavy. So if somebody get injured, they don't have the depth to go get it, to have people fill in. I think a lot of what's happening too, and people aren't giving them the credit, is the Chiefs get Hollywood Brown back. The Chiefs are starting to click. The Chiefs get, I think people are, because the Chiefs have been playing this weird brand of football this year, right? Of people are underestimating them because they're not high flying, scoring, greatest show on turf type football. But they're getting guys healthy, and D-Hop fits so well with that team. And if you're the Steelers, you're down Joey Porter Jr. You got TJ's got an ankle injury, and how do you cover D-Hop, Kelsey, Hollywood Brown, Kareem Hunt spell? can come in and do things that Pacheco can't do, and vice versa. And like, I just Noah Gray on that team. I don't know. I don't know how you defend everything. And then there's Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid over there, the mad scientist, drawing shit up. But I think that the problem with the Steelers, and you're going to keep seeing it hurting if they're not healthy, is they're not deep. They're really top heavy with that defensive and with the defensive players. And when you don't have the depth, it kills you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think this problem with Steelers players like not going off the same hymn sheet, and there always seems to be some sort of fucking drama in Pittsburgh as well. There's like, I feel like recent years there's always been a drama. Like if you think about just back to Antonio Brown is the guy that comes off the screen, but there always seems to be like a bit of a tension in the Steelers locker room. Oh, I also thought it could have been Russell at the time, by the way. Why have I got
at first I was thinking about Russell at first, but then I knew it had to be defense.
Yeah, definitely. But I think the problem that the Steelers have is they do have this top-heavy roster with loads of talent, and Steelers football is really experienced players, towards the end of their career now, ring chasing, and it just bubbles over and just spills over. And in an organization that has 5 Super Bowl rings, they know the fucking standard. Mike Tomlin sets the standard, so it just bubbles over. And I actually kind of prefer that and don't mind that as to what other organizations deal with when it comes to their player drama.
And they play such a hard-nosed football that players get injured, and when you don't have the depth there, that hurts too.
Yeah, definitely. So I actually still really like this Steelers football team. I think if Joey Porter Jr. comes in fit, then I do think that they'll cause problems. One major problem with what went wrong for the Steelers in this game, though, Jay, I thought was offensive play calling. Like there were quite a few times where I put in the group chat and went, "This offensive play call, that's terrible. Like that is a terrible play call." Like there was the touchdown, the first touchdown that they scored where Russell Wilson has to go out to the pylon, and it's basically just a busted play where they're trying to pass it out the back instead of just running it up and just scoring the touchdown. And obviously no guarantee that they scored a touchdown doing that as well, but it just felt like a weird play call to me. And Jay, like running under center, Jaylen Warren running under center was gaining like 5 to 10 yards a carry sometimes. Like on some of those drives, like Jaylen Warren just running straight up the middle when the Kansas City Chiefs don't have Chris Jones. Why are you not attacking the middle of that defensive line until they can fucking stop you? Like, so the interception that Russell Wilson throws to the deep safety, they'd ran all the way down the field, but they'd ran down the field and then a play action to George Pickens on the side. And it's just, there you go. That's it. There's the blueprint. That's your offensive play calling ability to win right there. And they seem to just go away from that. And I think the offensive play calling left something really to be desired in Pittsburgh in that game. And I think Arthur Smith has been good for them this year, especially when you think of what they look like under Matt Canada. And I just think in that game, he got it all wrong.
Well, he's your new favorite coaching candidate.
Maybe just for Chicago and the place that they're in. I also think the Chiefs, the weird band of football that they've been playing is just all clock management. If you look at their time of possession stats this year, it is crazy. So if you have a run game that can cause the Chiefs serious problems and their best run stopper isn't there, that was the way to win for me. Like just completely control the clock. And every time they dropped back to pass, it felt like it was at the wrong time. And then they seemed to run the ball when George Pickens had one-on-one coverage with no safety over the top. They always seemed to run the ball at that time as well. So it just felt strange to me. And maybe it was just the Chiefs defense was just reading them perfectly every time they came up for it, and give the Chiefs some credit. But that just felt wrong for me. Jay, how impressed are you by the Chiefs' ability to just be able to switch on for playoff football. I know it's because I agree with you. I think the Chiefs have been playing amazing all year, and people have been underestimating them. And now Hollywood Brown's back; they've just stepped to another level. But I also think when you just watch them, it feels like they've turned on a switch now. In the last game against the Texans,
I feel like they just every year they're building. They're just building.
Yeah.
And they're building off a week, and then next thing you know, they're in the playoffs, they're in the Super Bowl, and they were underestimated by people all year. And now they're starting to get the hate that the Patriots got for years too by people who just can't handle historic greatness. They fucking hate on historic greatness.
Yeah, definitely. And I think with the Chiefs, as well, and where they're at, I've said it for the past few weeks now. They're prepared. They're building to win 20. I feel like Detroit went out to win the regular season, and the Chiefs aren't here for the regular season. They don't really give a shit until the playoffs start. But let's just remember, the Chiefs have also only lost one game, and yeah, if you've been down to luck and all of that kind of stuff, but you make your own luck in the NFL, Jay. And a player that popped off the screen for me, Jay, our boy, who doesn't get his fair share because of Chris Jones and all the praise that he gets, George Karlaftis again was amazing in that game. Amazing. And really stepped up to the plate there.
Yeah, he's one of the cornerstones of their defense, but nobody talks about him.
Yeah, perfect. Perfect for the Chiefs. Jay, the Chiefs, they've secured the number 1 seed now. They're number 1. It's now the AFC title goes through Arrowhead, which is obviously huge for the Chiefs. They've now gone to the playoffs. I think it's is it 5 or 6 times in a row? And every single time every time but one, the AFC Championship has gone through Kansas City. So that's very impressive. Jay, do you rest players next week?
Not for the whole game.
Yeah, they might not play again. They don't play a meaningful game now because of when this game was for a month.
Yeah, I'm not resting them the whole game because that's way too much time off and not playing with a bye.
Yeah, I think for me, they've shown the ability that they can just switch it on and off. But Patrick Mahomes, if you sit, I'm sitting Patrick Mahomes, I'm sitting Travis Kelce, I'm definitely resting Chris Jones and seeing how he comes back. D-Hop can sit as well. Hollywood Brown, I think, should play. Xavier Worthy, I think, should play as well. And those guys, those guys that need still need it to click.
I'm playing Mahomes and Kelce the first half.
I think
I don't think Andy Reid will sit either of them.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he might, and I think I would too. Now, one reason to not do that, Jay, actually, and it's a game we're going to come on to in a second now, but is the Bengals still have an ability to come into the playoffs if the Broncos lose out? Now, what's one team that the Chiefs don't like to face, especially in the Arrowhead Invitational? The only team to beat them at Arrowhead in the playoffs in the Mahomes area is the Cincinnati Bengals. They genuinely might sit so that the Broncos can win and the Bengals stay out. That could also be it. But then the Broncos are their division champions. Jay, do you give any credence to that at all, or is that just stupid, shouty show nonsense?
I think that people buy too much into what all those shows want to say, and then it gets rolling what's the old saying, snowball down a hill, right? And it just keeps rolling into something bigger than it really is.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think that the Chiefs are looking at a way to make sure the Bengals don't get it. If the Chiefs are looking at a way to make sure the Bengals don't get in, then I worry for their Super Bowl chances, because the Bengals shouldn't be getting anywhere near the Chiefs. They shouldn't be able to lay a glove on the Chiefs. The AFC is so top heavy this year.
Do people really think the Chiefs are worried about who they're playing at this point in the playoffs?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think they obviously don't want to play against the Ravens, and the Bills in the first round. But I think they do just think mentally like, oh yeah, we'll just beat whoever we play because to be the best, you've got to beat the best. So it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, and like this will be their third year in a row and fourth and however many. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
the stars of this team, the veterans of this team, they're not sweating. They're not thinking about any of that kind of shit.
Yeah, and that's why they're such a great team, because they don't think about any of that or look out for that outside noise. And I think it's just absolute nonsense, to be honest. Okay, Chiefs secure the number 1 spot, Jay. It was an absolute blowout, to be honest. And another absolute blowout was the Texans versus the Ravens. What a weird scoreline in this one, 35-2. I feel like that has to be the first time that scoreline has ever happened in NFL history. Like, must be. 35-2. Jay, the Texans are still going to make the playoffs, but what's kind of gone wrong with their season?
Man, everything, but CJ Stroud's not looking like CJ Stroud did. Now, is that all on CJ Stroud? Is part of that on Bobby Slowick? Is it that teams now know how to game plan for those two? I'm not sure what's going on. Lack of weapons because of injuries. That O-line's not the greatest. Combination of everything. I'm not sure, but this isn't the Texans we expected to see. And holy fuck, is that an ass whooping?
Yeah, for a division winner, playoff contender, AFC dark horse style team for a lot. But 2 weeks ago, the Texans were still an AFC dark horse contender for a lot of pundits, saying, oh, you never know, like when they can switch it on and stuff. No, the AFC is so top heavy this year. It is the Chiefs, the Ravens, and the Bills are the best teams. And maybe the Steelers, if they get their act together, can actually cause a bit of trouble as well. Like the Broncos the Chargers maybe can cause some trouble, but the division is so top heavy. The conference is so top heavy at the minute. It is ridiculous. And Jay, for me, I think for CJ Stroud, it is a tick all of the above. I think maybe we just saw how great he was last year, and that's his highest level. We saw it in college, right? Like CJ Stroud was average, like good, like just above average for most of his time in college, right? And then he played that one game against Georgia, and it was like, oh, okay, if that's your ceiling, then that's exciting. And he came out, yeah.
That's on Ryan Day too, though, because they wouldn't let him run.
Yeah, he came out and he played his whole rookie season like it was the Georgia game, right? He came out and played his whole rookie season, and now he's taken a bit of a setback. So maybe his level isn't that high. I don't know whether I truly agree with that. Maybe it's just a second-year slump, and he'll go back to the board with Bobby Slowick, and they'll draw some stuff out that works. The interior offensive line has been so bad, like so completely decimated. And where's the one place you don't want the pressure to come all the time is right up the middle. At the start of the season, they were able to run the ball. The run game seems to have dropped off severely. As well, their run blocking isn't as good. So I think that offensive line is the biggest problem. And to start the season, Jay, they had Nico Collins, Stephon Diggs, and Tank Dell. That's one of the best wide receiver rooms in the league. Like, that is unbelievable. And since what is it? When did Stephon Diggs go down? About week 5, week 6? Like, they haven't had that 3 out there either. So I think all of the above, right? And I think the Texans are fine. That their defense is actually pretty good. It looked terrible in this game, but their defense as a whole this season has actually been pretty good. So I think they'll be fine. Next year, maybe they might cause a problem in the playoffs. We'll see, but I wouldn't bank on that for now. Jay, how do you stop Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry? They were amazing in this game.
If you can, you keep contained so Lamar can't get outside the pocket with your rush, and you put 8 in the box and you stop Derrick Henry, and you tell Lamar you got to beat us with your arm from the pocket.
Yeah. The issue is Lamar Jackson can beat you
He
with his arm
can't,
from the pocket.
but
So
you can't stop
yeah.
everything. So you
Yeah.
have to make them one-dimensional, and you have to be able to man-to-man cover on their receivers.
Yeah, I was surprised how little answers the Texans had for the Ravens. And I think it's testament to the Ravens' offensive line again. I think everybody's, shiny toys, Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, Zay Flowers. Mark Andrews had a big game, unfortunately for me, playing against him in fantasy, like 2 touches for 70 yards and a touchdown. But the offensive line for me is the thing that most improved this Ravens team, and it's improved all the way through the year. It just makes them completely unstoppable. So, the Ravens, big, like they look ridiculous. Big props to them. Jane, is this the best form the Ravens have had going into the playoffs to actually go towards a Super Bowl? Now they're beating playoff teams handsomely to go
Well, yeah,
into
since Ray
that.
Lewis was there, it is.
Yeah.
I think I think the AFC is a 3-horse race. It's the Bills, it's the Ravens, it's the Chiefs.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think one of the lower teams might cause some problems for one of the top 3 teams. I could see that, but they won't cause problems for all top 3 teams there. So I think it is a 3-horse race. Like the Steelers might knock out the Ravens if the Steelers manage to get their defensive act together. The Bills can be quite up and down. So that maybe the Broncos or the Chargers will give the Bills a good game, and we'll see. But I think I agree with you. I think it's a 3-horse race as well, and props to the Ravens because they look like an absolute machine in that game as well. Just get out of our way. We're running you over.
Starting 0-2.
After starting 0-2. Yeah, after starting 0-2, and then they had a little slump a couple of weeks back as well, where it felt like everything was coming down as well for them. MVP Lamar Jackson, maybe?
I think he should be definitely up in that conversation. I still think they're going to give it to Josh Allen again, unless Saquon blows up against the Giants and breaks that record. Then I think he's got a shot at it.
Yeah, definitely, and I agree with you. I think the MVP is such a narrative-driven award. Like it's all based on narrative, as far as I can see. At the moment. And if you actually look at the stats and who's actually as important to their team, then Lamar Jackson should be winning the MVP over Josh Allen. However, it's also the fact that will be Lamar Jackson's 3rd MVP. And I do think that the voters take into consideration, like, does this guy deserve to be a 3 MVP player? And it's because of his playoffs stuff as to why they won't give it to him. Because if you win 3 MVPs, you're just officially one of the best quarterbacks of all time. But then Lamar Jackson has never done it in the playoffs, and I think they'll take that into consideration, and that works against him too. I don't like the MVP award, Jay.
Sorry.
It's not an award I like. Jay, we're now going to look forward to our NFL Week 17 preview. That's the Saturday and the Sunday and the Monday games as well. And we'll be going through the betting lines and who we're going to be picking for each of those games. Jay, there's a few of these games where I've just put underneath it, should we just pick this game? We're not going to really talk much about that game because there's a couple of games that just don't matter to the rest of the season now. But Jay, the Patriots are going up against the Chargers. The Chargers are 4-point favorites. Jay, if the Patriots don't win their next 2 games, should Jared Mayo be carrying on next season?
Yeah, because it's rough to fire a guy after 1 season. I still think he was the wrong hire, but it's a little quick to pull the trigger after 1 season, especially with the turnover from going from Belichick and few years removed from Brady and that kind of shit. So,
yeah, I agree. I think the one thing that would make me change it is like it was Vrabel at the Patriots, like Patriots guy, Vrabel, but I don't know. I think you're worried about wasting these rookie years of Drake May, right? Like, that's what you're worried about, and that's why you might go and get an offensive coach or a new offensive coordinator. But Drake May looks good. Drake May looks like he's a player. So you're worried about ruining those years, but I would keep Jared Mayo as well.
I don't think it's Robert Kraft's style either.
Yeah, I don't think it's his style at all. Jay, if the Patriots play like they did last week, do they beat the Chargers team here?
No.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Jay, should we just pick this game? The Chargers are 4-point favorites.
Yeah, because without I can go on like I did last week about DK Metcalf, but they have enough with J.K. Dobbins. They have enough with Ladd and that defense, and they'll figure out how to get enough running attempts. So I'm taking the Chargers minus the 4. You're taking the Chargers minus the 4.
I've also got the Chargers minus the 4 in this one. The Chargers are one of my sweetheart teams in this one. I also just think defensively they're so solid that I don't think that Drake May is going to dash them up either. Jay, I was thinking about how the Chargers can improve before they go into the playoffs. And the one thing that they really do need is another weapon. And I just wonder, there's some free agents coming out. There's some free agent running backs coming up. And I was just wondering if you're not going to re-sign him, if you're not going to re-sign your free agent, is it worth like giving him the option to go to the Chargers? Because there's guys like Alexander Madison for the Raiders, Naheem Hines for the Browns, Chase Edmonds for the Bucks. We're going quite into the list now because I'm taking away anybody who's already on a playoff contender as well. So there's not like loads and loads and loads of players that are available to this, but like Deontay Foreman for the Browns as well, Trey Sermon for the Colts. There's those kind of guys that are out there.
I think the only thing right now they could do to get any better, and I don't even know if it would help, is sign OBJ.
Yeah, actually, just any weapons just might help them at this moment in time, and I think it's worth it. I think if you're the Chargers, it's worth a punt for this playoffs. I think it's worth a shot, just trying to find whatever free agent weapons you can and just see where you end up. But yeah, both taking the Chargers -4 in that one. Jay, honestly, this spread is one of the most surprising ones to me this week. But the Bengals are 3.5-point favorites up against the Denver Broncos. The Broncos are actually 2-6 as underdogs this season. Do you think they will buck the trend in this game?
Oh, shocker. Maddie and I both taking the Broncos in this game. Okay, as I go on. Because Maddie definitely taking the Broncos because that's what Maddie does.
They're one of my lock bets of the week, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm taking the Broncos. So, but I think they buck the trend. I think Cincinnati is not playing well at all, and I think a lot of shit's going to accumulate and end up into, well, you know what? I was going to say into a clearinghouse, but they have such a cheap fucking owner. It should end in a house cleaning. Yeah,
I agree with you, and it's this. Oh, the Bengals are looking good now. They're coming into the final stretch. They've won 3 on the bounce. Their offense is cooking. Their defense has become more solid. No, they played against the Cowboys where they got you make your own look in the NFL, but that fucking blocked punt and then the turnover and stuff like that, that is just a fluky ass play. That is just okay, cool. Well done, the Bengals. You got your points and those kind of things. You then went on and scored a touchdown. But you played against the Cowboys, who are one of the laughing stocks of the NFL this season, even though they've got the same record as the new media sweetheart Cincinnati Bengals. That really pisses me off. But the Cowboys, they've just beat the Cowboys. They beat the Titans, where they gave up 27 points, and they beat the Browns, where they only gave up 6 points against the Browns. But the Cowboys, Titans, and Browns, that's 3 wins on the bounce there. That is making everybody say, oh, are the Bengals actually favorites to make the playoffs because the Broncos will just lose out this whole thing? No, the Bengals are not a good football team. They're not a good all-round football team. They've got Joe Burrow and they've got Jamar Chase, and that's brilliant because they're two of the best players in the NFL. But as an all-round football team, they suck. They are actually just not a good football team. Even if they win this game against the Broncos, they're still a shit football team as a whole. Oh, that was therapeutic, Jay.
All right, there we go. There we go.
That was therapeutic.
Let it out.
No, but I agree with you. I think if the Bengals miss the playoffs, I think they should fire Zach Taylor. I think they have to get rid of him. This has been going on too long where you can't have this much talent and not be consistently brilliant every single week. And it's a coaching problem for me.
I don't disagree. I think Zach Taylor's a shit coach, and we saw it because every year since he's been there. They are the slowest starting team in the NFL. And I think that if the Broncos, it's going to come down to line play. I think the Broncos will get pressure. But then can the secondary match up against the wide receiver core for the Bengals? And I think with the pressure their offensive line causes, yes, they absolutely can match up with this receiving core because they're not going to have to cover for 5 seconds.
Yeah, definitely. And I think Patrick Surtain is one of the best one-on-one coverage players in the NFL. So I think they've got that as well. What does worry me about this game is obviously Trey Hendricks is actually one of the leading he's either the first or second, but in terms of getting sacks in the NFL, Trey Hendricks of the Bengals is one of the best there. So maybe Bo Nix will struggle with that in this game.
Peyton will have him get the ball out of his hand quick. It'll be set up, short game, check down, move the chains, that kind of ball.
Yeah, I was very tempted to put Javonte Williams into my team, actually, my fantasy team this week, but I felt like that was a bit overkill. I'm not going to do that over Achane, Kyron Williams, and Jonathan Taylor. That would be insane. But but I think he's going to have a big game as well. And I don't. The Broncos, I think, are going to win this game, and I think it's one of the craziest stat lines, and it's about crazy narratives that the Bengals are favorites in this game. No surprise, me and Jay are both taking the Broncos in this one. We're taking the +3.5 there. Jay, an NFC West divisional game. The Rams are 6.5-point favorites against the Cardinals. Jay, how dangerous is this Rams team? Because they're so up and down. How dangerous are they looking forward?
When they're clicking, they're dangerous, but it depends what team shows up. You never know what team shows up. So, I actually think that there's a good shot they might lose this game because of the weird way the West is going, and it'll make it so that the fucking week 18 could be for the division against the Seahawks. What better way for this division to end because of how up and down they've been? Like you were saying earlier, they can score 44 or they can score 12. It's which team's going to show up. But I think that the problem comes down to if Arizona had just another speed weapon on that offense, I think that we'd be having a whole different conversation about this West. But I think that Arizona might upset them. So I'm taking Arizona plus the 6.5 or whatever it is, 7 points. Yeah.
Yes.
I want the points because I think that it's going to be a close game and Arizona is going to be in it at the end.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a close game as well. I'm in this. Let me just see if I've written down in my spreadsheet here. Okay. But yeah, I think it's going to be a close game for a lot of the game. But I think the Cardinals will eventually fall off. That's what's been happening to them this season. They're really up and down, and the NFC West is a crazy division. Like the Seahawks are ridiculously up and down. The Rams are ridiculously up and down. The Cardinals are ridiculously up and down. teams that we don't know who actually is going to be the division winner in this division, and that's crazy because they're three good. Well, the Cardinals and the Rams are two pretty decent teams. The Seahawks are a decent enough team as well, but that division's been there for the taking for the whole season, and I have no idea why everybody's so inconsistent. And I do think with the Cardinals, they need that over the top deep threat, and I feel like a speed receiver is a massive threat to this Rams defensive scheme as well. I don't think they're going to be able to do that. I think the Rams, Jared Verse and Kyle Fisk are going to have a fun time teeing off to try and get to Kyler Murray and give him pressure as well. And I don't think Kyler Murray is going to be able to get the ball out fast enough because of the separation issues here. I think the Cardinals will keep it close until the fourth quarter where the Rams will have one drive and take it away from them. Give me the Rams. In this one, I do think they're just the better football team, even though they've been inconsistent throughout. This is the first game that we've disagreed on this week, and we're 6 games in. So,
yeah, I don't know why you wanted to be wrong, but it's okay.
Yeah, maybe I just did it just to be contrarian, just to be different, you know. But no, I don't know how dangerous these Ram teams are going into the playoffs. I have no idea with the Rams anymore. I don't know, because they beat the Bills. I would just saying the Bills are a top 3 contender, and they beat the Bills by scoring 44 points.
The Bills game is one that's really weird for me this week trying to pick.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm not feeling particularly comfortable about my pick on that one. And Jay, well, that's the next game that we're coming to. The Bills are 9.5-point favorites versus the Jets. Why do the Bills get this big of a spread after last week's performance when they were 14-point favorites?
Because the Jets can play like complete ass cheeks, but there's a ton of talent on that offense, and the Bills give up so many yards, right? So there's a chance that it's the NFL. Any given Sunday, I get that. To me, there's no chance the Bills lose this game. I think the Bills win this game. It's just, do they win it by 9.5 against a division opponent where it's Aaron Rodgers is finally starting to look like he can fucking play? But they're still not, even when the Jets are putting up yards, driving the ball, looking good, they're not putting up points either.
No.
You know what I mean? So they're moving between the 20s without a problem. And then, so I don't know how I keep going back and forth on this fucking game because of the point spread, the 9.5. The 9.5 keeps killing me, but I feel like every time I take the Jets, they fuck me. So I'm taking the Bills minus the 9.5.
Yeah, this Jets team has caused the Bills team under Josh Allen some serious problems. Like the Jets defense in the Zach Wilson era of the Jets, they beat the Bills. They swept the Bills in a season in a game where Josh Allen threw 4 interceptions. And this should be the same defense. I still can't explain why it hasn't looked like it this season. And it might just be because of Robert Saleh, right? Like that might be the correct answer here. But it's the same players that caused Josh Allen. And they play Josh Allen twice a season. They've seen so much of Josh Allen now. Like these players and the Jets team, I think the Jets can cause them real problems, and it makes me really uncomfortable to say this. Jets plus 9.5. Like, I don't think they're going to win the game, but I'm taking the Jets in this game after, I think, about 7 weeks ago saying I'm never taking the Jets in a game. I think, to be fair to me, I said I'm never taking the Jets in a game where they're favorites, is what I said. But from going to that to taking them against the Bills feels weird and uncomfortable. I don't particularly like it, but yep, Jets plus 9.5. Jay, how can the Jets cause the Bills problems in this game?
I mean, they got offensive weapons for days, and the Bills defense is actually what's a little suspect about that team, right? You run the ball. They got a double-headed monster with running the ball in New York, and they got receivers. Aaron Rodgers looks like he's finally getting healed from this. But for me, beyond all that, it's they have the defensive players to wreck some shit on defense. I don't know what's going on either. I don't know if it's scheme or what they're doing because they're giving up so many points and yards with all this talent. It's crazy.
Yeah, I think it's so strange. And then they're not scoring points. Their red zone offense is not good at the moment, which I as a Garrett Wilson owner in fantasy, I think I might just be really biased about this, but I'm not going to lie. Every time there's a snap in the red zone, Aaron Rodgers just fixes on Devontae Adams, which is not a bad strategy, and it worked for them in Green Bay. But, like, it just looks like he just goes, we're in the red zone. I'm only going to throw this ball to Devontae Adams. That's all I'm going to do. Like, and that's what it looks like to me.
That is the most pre-Civil War comment I've ever heard.
Fuck.
I just so you know.
No. No, I hear what I just said. God, I hope that doesn't get clipped for shorts.
No, I won't let that happen.
Fuck, that'd be awful. Garrett Wilson is on my fantasy team. That's what normal people say, Jay.
They don't.
A
lot of people say what you say, which is the wildest thing. That's what it's so. Yes,
that's terrible. Shit. Yeah. So Jets. I think the Jets plus 9.5 in this one, and I think it could be a surprisingly low-scoring game. Maybe a lot of yards, but just not a lot of points by either team. In this one. Here.
It's sad you're wrong again, but okay, let's keep it moving.
Jay, the Giants are going up against the Colts. The Colts are 7.5-point favorites. There's not much on this game, to be honest.
Well,
the Colts need help to get into the playoffs.
There's a teaser. There is somebody from this game who is my fantasy player at the end, and it's not who you think.
Yeah, it's not Jonathan Taylor, but I really hope it is. I really wish it was. But nice teaser for the end.
Might be one, but that's not who I chose. Jonathan Taylor might run for 200 yards in this game.
Yeah, that would be really fucking good for me, to be honest. Jay, the Colts do have a pathway to get into the playoffs. I think they need the Broncos. They need the Broncos to lose out, and then they need the Bengals to lose week 18, and then they need to win out. And I think that gets them in.
So they're not going to the playoffs. Yeah, I get it.
I'd be surprised if they get into the playoffs. But Jay, is this about the Colts finding the formula for next year in this game? Is it about them just making sure that Anthony Richardson and the Colts are under the formula and they're ready to go for next year? Because they've still got to play Anthony Richardson next year, in my opinion.
Yeah, you better, because that's year 3 for the coach and the quarterback. Now you don't get that shit together. Now we're starting to talk about, is it time to move on?
Yeah.
But with that said, I'm still taking the Colts minus the 7.5 in this game.
Yeah, I'm taking the Colts minus 7.5 here. I think the Giants would be fucking dumb to win another game, to be perfectly honest. Like, I know you don't purposely lose games. I know that, but you can put your the Eagles legitimately threw a game like in Jalen Hurts' first season in the NFL, or was it his second season? His first or second season in the NFL, where they took him out for who was that? The Eagles' third quarterback that season. It was Carson Wentz, Jalen Hurts in his rookie year, and then it was like Nate Sutfeld, maybe. Is that his name? But anyway, terrible. And they said that Jalen Hurts was injured during the game to make sure that they lost week 18 against the Giants, so that the Giants lost the number 1 pick and the Eagles went up another few picks into the top 10 as well. So you can manufacture ways not to lose the number 1 pick. And I think the Giants will be fucking stupid if they even try to win another game. Now, Daboll will try and win some games because he needs to try and save his job. But so if I'm the Giants ownership, I'm almost tempted to just sack him now so that doesn't happen.
Yeah, but Tim, what if you get that assistant coach boost, that interim coach boost, and you win your last 2 games?
Yeah. And they go up against the Giants. They go up against the Eagles next week. So they do have the chance to play spoiler for the Eagles, which is always fun to have that opportunity. But at the cost of your entire organization's future, I think that would be interesting. Look, I personally, I don't think that Shador Sanders is worth as much to an organization as everybody seems to think he is. I think he would be the 4th or 5th quarterback taken in last year's draft. So I don't think he changes life in New York because New York is a terrible organization. But see you shaking your head. So yeah, clearly disagree.
Yeah, about Shador. I'm like, I think Shador Sanders is taken before Caleb Williams last year if he could have been taken.
Really? That's crazy. It'll be weird if Shador Sanders is in the NFC East and it's not with the Cowboys. It'd be weird if Dion's son is a Giant. That'd be interesting. The other thing with Shador Sanders is he doesn't have to come out. Like, he really doesn't have to come out if he doesn't want to play for the team that he gets selected for. And I think the Giants, an organization you want to play for, I guess New York, big market, you're going to make loads of money doing it. So, yeah. Jay, I'm taking the Colts in this game as well. I think they run for a ridiculous amount of yards. I think the Giants would be stupid to win. The Giants would be so fucking dumb to win this game. That might be why they win this game, because the Giants do dumb things. Jay, the Buccaneers is 7.5-point favorites against the Panthers. They were 8-point favorites against the Panthers when we picked, and I made it my best, one of my lock bets. So 7.5-point favorites now. So there's been some money put on the Panthers. Jay, where are the Panthers after this season? What do you make of the Panthers going ahead after their solid play at the end of this half of the season?
I think they're headed in the right direction. And like I said in my overreactions, they're going to win the South next year. But that's not saying a ton because the South isn't that great. But I don't think they'll win this game. I don't love the point spread. I think if Tampa Bay's smart, they're just going to come out and just run the fucking ball 35 times in this game. But I'm still taking the Bucs minus the 7.5 to win this game because I still feel like the Panthers can shit the bed at any given moment in a game.
Yeah, it's strange, right? It's whether you take the Panthers against the Cowboys is what the Panthers are, or whether you take them against the Chiefs, the Eagles, and then they got the win last week. Who did they play last week and get the win against? The Cardinals, who are obviously weird, can be amazing playoff contender
Tampa's
style.
In that fight team for the playoffs too, though. You feel like they're going to come out with something to prove, and
I don't know. So for me, it's division rivalry. The Cardinals, the Panthers have been playing really tough all the way through the season. I think the Bucs will get the win, but because I think at the style of football that they're going to play, I think an 8-point spread, a 7.5-point spread is huge for that. Because I agree with you. I think that Bucky Irving is the key to them winning this game, and I think that Bucky Irving, with play action of Baker Mayfield to Mike Evans, is the way that they'll win games if they make it through to the playoffs. Now, the Falcons are actually in control of the division. However, I think the Bucs are going to come out on top and win the South and be in the playoffs. Do you think that the Bucs have the opportunity to cause some problems in the playoffs when they're there, if they're there?
They're another team. When they're clicking, they can cause you all kinds of problems. I'm just never exactly sure what Bucs team I'm going to be watching play.
Yeah, it's I feel if they play up against the Lions or if they play against the Packers, I feel like their brand of football would be a problem for the Lions and the Packers. The Lions with the injuries more so is what I'm saying there with the Lions injuries, because they can just run the ball down your throat as they go forward. So I'm taking the Panthers in that game. That was one of my lock bets of the week at 8. Jay is taking the Buccaneers. Jay, we now move on to what I think should be the game of the week. The Vikings are 1-point favorites against the Packers. Jay, why isn't this the game of the week? Why isn't this on primetime football?
I don't know. And it's wild that if you look at this spread, even though the Vikings are favored, it means Vegas thinks that the Packers have a better team. I think that's kind of crazy. Yeah, I think this would be a fucking great game. Everybody would love to see on Sunday Night Football. I think that would be like one of those things where I don't know why it wasn't flexed into one of those spots too. Maybe it's because both teams got playoff spots locked up. I don't know. They did move it from noon to 3:25.
Yeah. The fact it was even considered to be played at midday, it blows my mind. Like the fact that that was even a choice, I think is crazy. Jay, how can the Vikings force Jordan Love into making mistakes? What can the Vikings defense do to get Jordan Love out of his comfort zone and making mistakes?
Pressure him, hit him, like, you know what I mean, get in his face. That's always a good start. And he's one of those guys, you get him throwing off his back foot, it's hit or miss on the week. Sometimes he's an assassin from his back foot, and sometimes he is so inaccurate. So you just get him, you get pressure on him and hope that when he's throwing off that back foot, he's having one of those inaccurate days. Another thing I think that might hurt, we don't know if Jair Alexander is going to play. He missed last week. Christian Watson, I don't think is playing after that injury. So I think that bodes well for Minnesota. Ivan Pace is back, which is going to really help Minnesota's defense. It's going to free up Cashman to do what Cashman does best instead of having to move over into doing the run stopping, where Ivan Pace is a fucking missile coming off those linebackers. So I think that's the key. I think it's just pressuring Brian Flores type defense, keep Jordan Love having to move around and not just be able to, pick you apart from the pocket.
Yeah, I think Jordan Love is the key to this game. The last time that you guys played each other, where the Vikings came away with a 2-point win, Jordan Love threw 52 times for 389 yards, but also 3 interceptions. And that's where the Vikings are different. And by the way, a lot of that was garbage time. Like the Vikings let the Packers back into that game. Like the Vikings were miles ahead and were absolutely annihilating them. So just reminder. But the Vikings defense caused Jordan Love like a lot of problems in terms of turning over the ball. And that's where Brian Flores' defense has been a total revelation in Minnesota, where it's that getting those turnovers. It's what I was saying last show about how the Cowboys defense, I actually don't mind when they give up big yards because they make big plays and they get those interceptions that totally flip games and game-winning plays. And I think the Vikings are of a similar mentality. And I think that Brian Flores' defense just shows so many weird looks, so many strange pressures that I think Jordan Love will struggle with that again in this game. And like you, Jordan Love's back foot mechanics are so surreal to me. When the Packers played the Cowboys in the playoffs, we couldn't get to him off his back foot and everything was perfectly thrown every single time. But throughout this season, there's been games where he seems to be choosing to throw off his back foot. And that's when I think he gets, when he's pressured into throwing off his back foot, he's actually better than when he just chooses to, for some unknown reason, throw off his back foot. So I think Jordan Love is the key.
The Vikings are the only team in the NFL who have a turnover in every game this season, too, have forced a turnover, their defense. So that's something, you just keep that rolling. And I know a lot of times people start to think, turnovers are luck or they're sporadic or they happen here and there. When you do it every game of the season, you're causing these turnovers. You're creating havoc. You're, causing confusion, which is a big thing. And I'm not saying they're perfect by any means. And yes, they can be stopped and slowed down and that kind of thing. I always worry less about the offense in these type of games, and I worry more about the defense. I'm more nervous about, can we stop Green Bay from scoring? It's just because I feel like the Minnesota Vikings offense can score on pretty much anyone.
Yeah, I feel like like the Vikings defense as well is just made to give the fans a heart attack because of how many yards they give up. They give up so many yards, but then they really are really solid in the end zone, and they take the ball away, which just flips the game. So the yards don't actually matter.
And they're top 10 on third down stops, and I think they're number 1 on fourth down stops.
Yeah, so they're just built to give you a heart attack.
Yeah, if they get you behind in the downs, like if they can get it to like 2nd and 12 and then just start pressuring you, that's when you're in trouble on a drive. Your first play has to be a positive gain when you're playing Minnesota's defense.
Yeah, it's the same with the Cowboys and the Vikings often weirdly kind of mirror each other. Like I know,
yeah, it's the same thing with the Eagles quality, too. Though you better pick up yards on your first play.
Yeah, exactly. Like as soon as the pass rush can just only think about the pass rush, then you're in trouble. Like basically, looking into that game there. Jay, I agree with you. I think the Vikings offense, I don't think it's going to be a problem here. I think they're going to be a big game, but what can the Packers do to stop the Vikings offense and slow it down?
Oh, I'll be a wreck because the Packers are a good enough team to beat anybody in the NFL on a given Sunday, right? I am taking the Vikings in this game, but that's because it's like, hey, if you're going to be fucking champions, your destiny is in your own fucking hands right now. You win out, you get home field advantage. And right now, if you keep winning, you don't have to play any game outside of a dome for the rest of the season, including the Super Bowl. You're in a dome for the whole ride. It's in your hands. And I think the team is starting to believe it because Kevin O'Connell's been preaching since training camp. If we just do what we're supposed to do at practice, he goes, this is going to be a special season. He's like, we have special players. I feel it. So I think sometimes you can get players to buy into that too. So I think that makes it hard on a team like the Packers. But what they need to do is get Josh Jacobs going. If they can get Josh Jacobs going, it's hard for any team. That becomes really hard for any team because Josh Jacobs is a monster when he gets going.
Yeah, and Jordan Love as well. If you get Jordan Love into not having to throw the ball like 40 times. And I know this is the same with every quarterback, but there's certain quarterbacks where it's really amplified. Dak Prescott's the same. You give them good looks in low amounts, they'll make the right calls every time. It's when you ask them to throw like 40, 50 times, like it becomes a real problem. Whereas like Aaron Rodgers doesn't mind. Like Aaron Rodgers can throw 40 or 50 times. Like that's I'd rather my quarterback
Matt Stafford.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's not that Dak Prescott and Jordan Love are necessary. It's not about them being worse or less talented. Jared Goff's the same. It's not about them being worse or less talented. It's just the kind of quarterbacks that they are, where it's you make the right read, you make the right throw, and you have the ability to make every throw required. It's just Jordan Love with his mechanics and those kind of things could do with throwing the ball less often, just to negate like problems in the mechanics there. Jay, I'm also taking the Vikings at 1 point there, so both on the Vikings for that game. Jay, a couple of games where I think we should just pick this. Like,
Raiders -1.
Yeah, for me it's Raiders. For me it's the Raiders -1. That's Saints against the Raiders, guys. The Raiders are -1 point favorites. I don't see a lot of point in. Sorry, Raiders and Saints fans. Might actually be a good game. That might actually be a good game because it's two quarterbacks trying to go for their thing. Two bad teams often come together to make a good game because at least it's actually close, but I'm not taking it here. And then, Jay, the Jaguars versus the Titans as well. The Jags have looked better throughout the second half of the year. Who are you taking?
Give me the Titans in this game.
All right. I'm going to take the Jags in this one as well. I think the Titans have hit a wall and have completely.
I think their running game might carry them to a victory, so I'm taking the Titans.
Tony Pollard's got about the same amount of yards as Rico Dowdle, which is exciting. It's funny, just from narratives at the start of the season, just funny. All right. Jay, moving on to the Browns versus the Dolphins. The Dolphins are 6.5-point favorites here. I couldn't decide whether this is a game where we should just pick, but there is some interesting stories here. Jay, what can Dorian Thompson-Robinson do to improve in this game from last game and his previous games as the Browns quarterback?
Okay, so Kevin Stefanski is a great offensive coach. He's not a great quarterback coach, and he doesn't simplify the offense for the quarterback. He doesn't make it simple. I think DTR, and it won't happen, he needs to get out of there. He needs to get to a coach, again, Brian Johnson, Kevin O'Connell, Bobby Slowick, fucking, Kyle Shanahan, Vic Fay. He needs to get to one of those type of coaches, but he's stuck. And because this offense is suited more for a veteran like Dak Prescott or Kirk Cousins or somebody like that. That's the type of offense. It's like, I want you to go in there, make the right read, make the right play, keep it moving. Make the right read, make the right play, keep it moving. Where he's not scheming guys open, he's expecting the quarterback to make the right read. And I just think that's really rough on a young quarterback. And that whole quarterback room has to be a complete shit show because Deshaun Watson's been awful, but they have to play him because of what they're paying him, and players have to know that. So, and they know it's the same problem again next year. I don't know what they can do at this point to make it better. I think they got to ride the next 2 years out and then move on from probably the worst free agent signing in NFL history.
Yeah, I mean, like Russell Wilson is the only other one.
It was a trade too. Oh yeah, they gave up a fuckload for him too. That makes it even worse. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. They basically hamstring themselves to do it as well. Just fucking stupid. The Russell Wilson one comes close, but Russell Wilson, the Broncos had a winning season with Russell Wilson.
That was complete mishandling of a situation. That wasn't on Rush. And Rush's second year, he played fine. There was just already a bad narrative. And so that again, the ball rolling down, the snowball rolling down the hill took on a life of its own.
Yeah, whereas Deshaun Watson was just like, Deshaun Watson's been terrible. And
fucking, to quote Charles Barkley, that's terrible.
Deshaun Watson will never get another contract in the NFL. I don't think, in my opinion. I'd be surprised because of the backlash you get for bringing him on, because of the charges and all of that kind of stuff. And then like the backlash because of his play and those kind of things. Like, he probably could play backup quarterback in the NFL, but if I was him as well, like, would you want to do this? Like, he doesn't look like he enjoys playing football whenever you see him ever out there. I think dropping Jameis Winston was a weird call. I do get why they did it, because you have to see what you have in DTR. But I think it was a strange call because I think the vets will be like, we had a better chance of winning with.
I think they're maneuvering to get higher up in the draft, hoping they can get somebody to replace Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, I agree with you as well. I think they're like throwing games, right? But obviously they're not throwing games because you don't throw games in the NFL. And Kevin Stefanski's not going to let them throw games. But if you put DTR back there, I think DTR is going to find this really rough because the Dolphins have actually really improved on defense, on the defensive side of the ball, and it's gone unnoticed. Chop Robinson, who in the most recent draft actually went in the second round of the draft. Like, Chop Robinson is looking like one of the better D linemen on there. One of the guys that we picked out in draft time to say, like, good pick at second, good pickup in the second round there. Maybe a first round talent who just wasn't getting the hype of the other defensive linemen there. So Chop Robinson may come up big for them in that game. Jay, the Dolphins are still in the playoff picture technically. Considering what's happened with them at the start of the season, are the Dolphins actually a better team than we give them credit for?
No, because I thought they were going to be better than they are. So no, they're not. They're not a better team. They've actually let me down all year, and Mike McDaniel's let me down with his coaching without Tua. I thought it was very disappointing, like the production they put out there. And as I just shit on them, I am still taking them in this game.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think with I think with the Dolphins, I am surprised that they're still in the playoff picture. Obviously, they got a good win against the 49ers last week. The win was slightly inflated, so they won 29-17. The win's slightly inflated by the fact that Devon Achane could have slid at the 1 yard line and closed the game out, but decided to run it in for a touchdown. So it was actually a 22-17 win, which doesn't look as nice. But they were dominant. They dominated the 49ers in that game. So I do think they've started to pick it up. I just think even when Tua came back, they still haven't looked like amazing. And I still think they've got that narrative about them where it's they don't beat good teams. The 49ers are not a good football team this year. They have a losing record and are out of the playoffs. So they can't say, oh, we beat the 49ers. That's us beating the narrative. No, you still haven't actually beaten a good team at all this year. Or gone on the road to somewhere cold. Cleveland is going to be cold. Cleveland, Ohio will be cold. So will the 49ers be able to play in the cold? Yeah, give me them as 6.5 point favorites here. The Browns are just that bad.
And I wonder if A-Tran's getting close to an escalator to get a bonus, like 2 more touchdowns, and he gets an extra $500,000, and he's like, fuck that. I'm taking this, you know?
Good for him. He's on my fantasy team, by the way, everyone. So I was pretty happy with that. That was a pretty massive play for me. So thank you very much, Devon Achane there. Jay, this is the game that I believe was flexed out for the Vikings Packers game. But I'm surprised that they didn't take out the Browns Dolphins, to be honest. But the Eagles versus the Cowboys. The Eagles are 7-point favorites in this division rivalry here. The Cowboys have chance to play spoiler to the Eagles' number 1 hopes after the Commanders put a big dent in it the week before. Jay, what can the Cowboys offense do without CeeDee Lamb? He is being sat for the rest of the season after his shoulder injury. Rich, thank you very much, Dallas. That is the right thing to do.
Here's the thing. We don't even know if Jalen Hurts or Kenny Pickett are playing in this game. And it looks like Kenny Pickett's rib injury is probably almost definitely going to keep him out. We don't know if Jalen Hurts is going to pass concussion protocol. We have no idea who's playing quarterback in this game. I think the Lions have the tiebreaker against the Eagles also. So I'm almost like you have a small shot at the 1 seed, and I think I understand going for it, but it's almost like maybe you don't want to. Maybe if the Lions or the Vikings, you know what I mean, may win and you can't get that 1 seed, you just before the game say, fuck it, we're not playing Jalen.
Yeah, so I put in the question, if the Vikings win, should the Eagles sit Jalen Hurts? But obviously now the Vikings and the Lions both play after the Eagles game, so they won't know until they won't know at 6 o'clock because they flexed it out. Like I just picked
the
up
Lions are a 3 o'clock game too.
No, the Lions are on. Are the Lions not on Tuesday night?
The Lions are Monday night, aren't they?
Monday night, yeah.
Tuesday
morning,
okay.
Monday night, yeah.
Well, that's why they did it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, do you know what? You're so fucking right, actually. That's why they flexed out. That's why they flexed out the Eagles. You're so right. That's mental. That's so broken. The NFL shouldn't be able to do that.
No, that's actually, it's smart because now you don't know. They didn't do it so you couldn't rest. They did it so that you don't know, and it more excitement into the game and you're not resting
That's
players.
true.
And actually, for fantasy owners, they should be happy.
Yeah. I mean, you could do that by playing them at the same time. Like that's what.
Right, but
that's
now,
what I would
say
do.
the Vikings are up 28-0 at half. Now you just sit Jalen. The second half.
That's a fair point. Saquon Barkley also got rested today in practice, but that it wasn't an injury or something. He just got rested today. So I wonder what the Eagles are going to look like. But I do wonder what the Cowboys offense is going to look like without CD as well. The Eagles quarterback position, by the way, they've picked up Ian Brook, who was a weird draft pick at the time for the New Orleans Saints and looked really bad when he had to come in for the Saints as well. Their third string quarterback is Tanner McKee, who I've never heard of before.
He's a rookie or the year before, right? Draft.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
drafted 2023, round 6, pick 188.
I'm still taking the Cowboys though because they're going to be trying to get Saquon that rushing title.
You're still taking the Eagles in this game. Yeah. So so for me, I think the answer to what can the Cowboys do on offense without CeeDee Lamb, I have no idea. I think that Brandon Cook has been a big help coming back. Jalen Tolbert's made some big plays, but Jalen Tolbert was also on the injury report this week as well. I think you get the ball in the hands of Turpin as much as you can. He's always a big player. Jake Ferguson as well. But this Eagles defense, especially their secondary, just shut people down. And look, the Commanders scored 36 points on them. So maybe the Eagles defense isn't as good as we thought it was. Some of those performances were against teams like the Giants and twice and the Cowboys once as well. So we'll see kind of where they're up to. The last time they played each other was Cooper Rush's second game after the Dak Prescott injury. So Cooper Rust was still in effect at that point, and Cooper Rush has looked much better going in here. My big problem is, I agree with you, Jay, the Cowboys' defense's ability to slow down Saquon Barkley. However, if they do that, and they have looked better against the run, they look like Tampa Bay run the ball, and they looked good against Tampa Bay.
So if they stop Saquon, what do you do about the receiving core? AJ Brown, Smith.
Well, so if Jalen Hurts is playing, then that's going to be tough. But Bland's back and playing really well. Jordan Lewis had a great game last week, so I think our cornerbacks are able to do that.
Don't you have to sell out?
Yeah. So what? Hang on. So you stop Saquon on first down, right, and turn it into passing downs, which is when the Cowboys' defense becomes incredibly dangerous. The Cowboys' defense becomes incredibly dangerous at that point. And if it's Kenny Pickett back there, if it's Trey McKee or Ian Brook back there, that's it. Game over. If they can't run on first down, that's it. Game over.
All of this, you trying to talk yourself into it. You're taking the Cowboys.
Well, the Cowboys are my lock pick of the week because they were 9.5. They were 9.5 when we picked them on Christmas Eve. 9.5, and I took them as the lock
right now.
9.5. They're now 7. Fucking give me the Cowboys. Give me the Cowboys. I can't pick the Eagles, Jay. I can't do it. I hate them too much. No one take my advice. I'm too biased on this particular thing. If Jalen Hurts isn't playing, then I think the Cowboys win this game. If Jalen Hurts is playing, it'll be worrying. But we'll see. Yeah. Okay. Jay, the Commanders are 4-point favorites against the Falcons. Are the Falcons going under the radar as a difficult playoff team to play against, / do you think they'll make the playoffs?
They're going to get smacked in the mouth this week, and they're going to lose by more than 4. So give me the Commanders. Dan Quinn's going to have Michael Penix wondering what the fuck just happened because he's going to confuse the shit out of that rookie quarterback. They're going to send a ton of pressure. They're going to make life hell on a rookie quarterback. And the Falcons have a better defense, but not enough for me to not pick the Commanders in this game. And because the Commanders' offense is going to score, they're going to score a lot. And I don't think I don't know. I shouldn't say I don't think. I don't know if the Falcons can keep up with Michael Penix. And I think that for them to win, they're actually going to have to win a shootout.
Drake London on the injury report as well going into this game. Listed as questionable for the game. I think he's a big player for Michael Penix. They look like they had a good connection. Kyle Pitts with more drops than ever in that last game as well. I agree with you on this one. I'm taking the Commanders in this game. I think the Falcons' defense on paper is better, like position to position to position, than the Commanders. But the Falcons' weakness is the thing that stops Jane. They can't get any pressure. There's zero pressure offered from the Falcons' defense. And Jaden Daniels back there with time to throw is unbelievable. And he often is able to create his own time. So he's going to have 4, 5, 6 seconds to throw this ball. Terry McLaurin was on the injury report, so that could be a big miss for them. We'll see. We'll see if he's able to come out. I bet you he does. I bet you he plays in this game to just confirm their seeding here. Commanders 4-point favorites. Jay, our most successful short of the year came from our discussion on whether Jaden Daniels is a top 5 quarterback in the NFL this season. Is Jaden Daniels still a top 5 quarterback in the NFL this season?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think so as well. And we'll see if he goes through the second year slump next year and the same thing as CJ Stroud. But this is now the best rookie quarterback year of all time, though.
Okay, maybe I'm missing somebody. But no particular order. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Sam Darnold, Jaden Daniels are your top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL this year.
Yeah, Jared Goff maybe slips in there somewhere.
Okay. I wouldn't be mad if somebody argued Goff into there, but yeah, it's
I think that Goff might change Darnold rather than Jaden Daniels. To be honest, it might be Patrick Mahomes that kind of falls out. Not because of Patrick Mahomes just being terrible or anything, but just the style of football that the Chiefs have decided to play this year. As well in that control game, and Mahomes is throwing with 2 seconds at the moment. So, yeah, I think he's a top 5 quarterback in the NFL as well this season. Jay, I'm going to take the Commanders of 4 points as well. We're both agreed on that one. Jay, the 49ers and the Lions is how we're wrapping up this penultimate week of the NFL season. The Lions are 3.5-point favorites. Is this a contract game for Brock Purdy? Brock, show us what you can do.
Oh, no, I think they're going to pay him $50 million no matter what. I think we are all the ones who are having the conversations on how they shouldn't. But I think Brock's getting paid $50 million a year, and I think it's just going to happen. But and they'll call it an extension, even though there's no such thing, because you rip up the old contract and you write up a new one. And he'll still be playing for practically nothing next year on the salary cap. He'll just get a huge signing bonus on top of it, so he'll have money, but it won't crush the salary cap. And then I almost think you're the 49ers. You can only make one more run at this if you're not going to try to move on from some guys and retool. So we'll see what they want to do at the end of the year. I really hope the 49ers win this game. It doesn't help the Vikings at all either way, but I really hope the 49ers win, because fuck the Lions. But I don't think they will, so give me the Lions minus the 3.5.
Yeah, I mean, the 49ers with Greenlaw back did look healthier and look that they could stifle the run, which is a big thing in the Lions defense as well, with Fred Warner back as well. They could stifle the run game a little bit with Jamar Gibbs and stuff, but they're just, the 49ers are so injured everywhere. But the Lions are so injured on defense as well. But yeah, give me the Lions in this one. They've been playing so much better football than the 49ers all the way through this season, even when both teams were injured. I'm not entirely sure how the Lions have been playing without any of their first team defense. A few of those players coming back now into the lineup as well. So maybe that'll be the tipping point for the Lions.
I know people are like, they can still get the bye, and yes, they absolutely can, because they're a good team. But for the first time, people better start saying they could get bounced in the first round too.
Yeah, definitely. Just with their defensive and offensive injuries, they could get bounced in the first round. And the teams that the NFC is so the difference between the NFC and the AFC is so strange. So the AFC is this completely top heavy division, and then the NFC is weird, where it's the NFC North and the NFC East are two decent divisions. And then the NFC South and the NFC West are two not so great divisions. So you're going to have a 13-win team in the 5th seed to go and play there.
Without being ridiculous, you could legitimately see the Vikings, the Lions, the Eagles, the Packers, or the Commanders in the Super Bowl and not be shocked.
Yeah, definitely. And it would be a shock if the Rams make it there, but the Rams have playoff pedigree and all of that. The Rams have playoff pedigree. It wouldn't be crazy to suggest that either.
They have an amazing offense. So, yes, they could get there too. I would be shocked if Tampa made it. I would be absolutely shocked if Tampa made it, or Atlanta, if whoever makes it. But so at the AFC, it's like, oh, it's one of 3 teams. And then in the NFC, it's like, well, anybody but one of these playoff teams could probably make the Super Bowl. Yeah,
definitely. And I think it is because of that, like just the way that the divisions have lined up as well this year is crazy. And then who do you think the Super Bowl winner, which conference do you think the Super Bowl winner is going to come from this year, the NFC or the AFC?
NFC.
You think the NFC teams, you think that
I think Skull Nation is going to be celebrating a Super Bowl on draft day at Lambeau Field. That's what the fuck think is going to happen. I think Lambeau Field's going to hear the loudest Skull chant they've ever heard in their whole life when Roger Goodell is like, the defending Super Bowl champions with the 32. Yeah, yes, that's what's happening.
Nice. Jay, that's the end of our previews. We're actually doing well on those on our spreads now. Jay, you're 120 and 120. You're at 500 with 2 weeks to go. A huge run. Here to come into the final 2 weeks. I'm 138 to 102. So guys, follow us and you'll be doing all right, basically, is what we're trying to say to you. For our best bets, Jay, we're both 27 and 21 on our best bets. So these next 2 weeks, the decider of the best bets. We should next year we'll do like a best bets like whole trophy and like a scoreboard as we go through. But this is the first year that we've been doing best bets and stuff like that. So I'll have scoreboards and everything ready for next season. But yeah, so everybody subscribe to the Yankee and the Brit for all the developments that we're going to be going through over the next year or so. Jay, our fantasy players to watch here, and I actually had a fun idea for this next year that I'm going to run by you on the show. What we should do is with these fantasy players to watch is like draw up the rules of how you're allowed to select the fantasy players, because I don't think you should be allowed to just select players that like everybody's going to play. Like you can't just like have Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley and stuff like that, because that's not how we pick it. But then, and then we just, as we go through the season, you just tally up the fantasy points of these players that we select. Person with the most points at the end of the year wins. Like in our little games between each other on the segments.
Yeah, I think the loser should have to do something, but we'll figure that out.
Yeah, exactly. We'll figure that out. But that's how we're going to score.
When I win, Maddie's going to have to get like American flag tattooed on him or something.
Okay, sure. Yeah, definitely. I have no tattoos. My mum would kill me.
Maddie's going to get a Confederate flag on his neck.
Man, that doesn't even fly in like Eastern Europe, but that's how bad that is.
With the South will rise again tattooed right across, like yeah.
Jay has to walk through Boston saying with a temporary tattooed on his forehead saying the Tea Party, the Boston Tea Party was done by total pussies, basically. And have that has to drive through Alabama saying man with a gay pride flag tattooed on his chest.
You want to get fucked up in Alabama, just go walk into a bar and say Bear Bryant sucks. You'll get fucked up instantly. So
just start screaming War Eagle in the middle of Mobile Tuscaloosa. Is it Tuscaloosa where Alabama play? Or have I got that wrong?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mobile's where I lived, though, when I lived in Alabama.
Yeah, it's to scream War Eagle in the middle of Tuscaloosa. All right. Jay, our fantasy players to watch this week. This is where we tell you who you should be, some under the radar guys who you should be playing if they're in your ability to play them this week. Jay, who is your first player on your fantasy players to watch board?
Jerome Ford.
Big game last week. Actually played pretty well last week, no?
Yeah, he played well.
Yeah, with Nick Chubb's injuries, actually stepping up, which has been weird this season, hasn't he? He's not like he's been pretty up and down.
No, he's only good when he's on my bench.
One of those, like Kyle Pitts. Yeah. Jay, my fantasy player to watch this week, number one, is Cortland Sutton. The Denver Broncos going up against that weak Cincinnati Bengals defense. Give me Cortland Sutton in that game as Bo Nix's number one target.
All right. My number 2 pick is the Colts defense.
Oh, nice. Love a good defense pick. We do need to sell the remits of this.
They're going up against the Giants. Pick the Colts defense.
Yeah, I like that. I love a good defense pick. Kickers and defense, they're the way to go. That's what wins championships in fantasy football. Love that, and they're going to go up against the Giants. You're so right. Jay, my second player is tight end of the Arizona Cardinals, Trey McBride. The Arizona Cardinals have nothing to play for. Trey McBride is going to go down this season, if he does not score a touchdown, as having the most receptions in NFL history without scoring a touchdown. They are feeding this guy the ball in the red zone.
I think he has a record for the most flexes after catching a touchdown. Catching a pass. He likes to flex on the sideline when he catches those.
I love Trey McBride, by the way. I think Trey McBride is one of the most underrated tight ends in the NFL. I'm so surprised he doesn't get more love. I nearly put Brock Bowers in here, but I feel like Brock Bowers goes against the rules, because if you have the ability to play Brock Bowers, he should be the only tight end that you start every single game. As well. So
my third and final is we are going to have an Amari Cooper sighting breakout game. Amari Cooper against the Jets.
All right, I like that. I've also gone with the Jets versus the Bills game. I've gone for Devontae Adams in this one. And I don't know whether that's cheating, because I feel like he's borderline, should be able to play every game. The same as Garrett Wilson. Normally you'd always pick Devontae Adams, right? It's just this year the Jets have been so up and down that we don't know what the fantasy points look like. So give me Devontae Adams in this one. I think he's going to get fed the ball against the Buffalo Bills here as well. And I think the Jets have the opportunity to put up some points against the Bills too. Oh my God, I've picked the Jets to win and one of their players to be my fantasy players to watch. It's horrendous. Okay, everybody, that was our Week 17 Saturday pregame show. Plus reactions to the Christmas Day games. Long title, that one. I hope
it was our post pregame show.
It was our post pregame show. The penultimate week of the season. Guys, if you like what you see here, then make sure to subscribe. We know that most people that actually watch our content aren't subscribed yet. So subscribe, please. That would be great for us. Really important for the channel. Jay, send us out like you always do.
All right, you already know what to do. Hit the like and subscribe. Check out the other shows. We appreciate you guys all for watching, the support. So if you could, just share it. Share it on social media. It don't hurt you, and it helps us. All right, thanks for watching. I hope you guys all had a happy holiday or Merry Christmas, and we'll talk to you. I don't know if we'll talk to you before, so if we don't, Happy New Year. One world, one love. Deuces.
Cheerio.